The moment my manager told me to get rid of the pink in my hair, I realized something important. He thought he'd given me two choices: obey or leave. He forgot about option 3. And honestly, option 3 turned out to be so much more fun than anything he could have anticipated. This is the story of how a single comment about my hair turned into the most absurd, policy-compliant protest my office has ever witnessed. It's about autonomy. It's about power, and it's about what happens when someone in authority tries to control your appearance under the guise of professionalism, and you decide to play their game better than they ever could. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through exactly how I went from humiliated employee to the person wearing a different ridiculous wig every single day, each one technically following every written rule, until my manager wished he'd never opened his mouth about my hair in the first place. If you've ever worked in an office with petty rules, micromanaging bosses, or dress codes designed to crush any spark of individuality, this one's for you. Let's start at the beginning. I'd been working at Hartwell and Associates for about 2 years when this whole saga began. It's a mid-sized consulting firm, the kind of place that loves phrases like synergy and stakeholder alignment, and let's circle back on that. Traditional in all the ways that matter, modern in none of the ways that count. The office was exactly what you'd picture: gray cubicles, fluorescent lighting, a break room with passive-aggressive signs about labeling your food. I worked in client services. My job was managing relationships with our mid-tier accounts, handling concerns, and making sure clients felt taken care of. I was genuinely good at it. I'm not someone who usually causes trouble. I hit my deadlines. My client feedback scores were consistently in the top 10%. I say this not to brag, but because it matters for what comes next. I'd had pink hair for about 8 months before anyone said a word. And when I say pink hair, I don't mean cotton candy explosion. It was subtle. A soft rose gold balayage at the ends, blending into my natural light brown. Think sunset tones, not neon signs. I'd gotten compliments. Coworkers said it suited me. One client at a conference told me it was refreshing to see someone with personality in this industry. I thought that was the general consensus. I was wrong. One Tuesday afternoon, I received a calendar invite, meeting with Greg Palmer, my direct manager. No agenda listed. Meetings with no agenda are rarely good news. Greg was mid-40s, always wearing one of the same 3 blue suits, the kind of man who thought having a standing desk made him innovative. In 2 years, he'd never given me a one-on-one without clear purpose. I walked into his office at 3 o'clock. He gestured for me to sit, his expression practiced neutral, the kind that signals something uncomfortable is coming. "Thanks for coming in," he said. "I wanted to talk about something that's been brought to my attention." I waited. "It's about your hair." "My hair?" He nodded, folding his hands on the desk. "The pink, it's been noticed, and I think we both know it's not exactly aligned with the professional image we project here at Hartwell." I stared at him. I'd had this hair for months, through client meetings, through quarterly reviews where Greg himself praised my performance. "Can you clarify the specific concern?" I asked carefully. Greg leaned back, using words like optics and perception. He mentioned client-facing roles and the impression we give. I pointed out that I'd had multiple client meetings with this exact hair. That client seemed fine, that I'd received explicitly positive feedback. He smiled. That tight, thin smile managers use when they've already decided and your input is just noise. "I understand your perspective," he said. "But I'd like you to consider returning to a more natural shade, something that fits the team aesthetic." Consider, such a careful word. It wasn't a suggestion. I asked if there was something in the dress code prohibiting my hair color. He hesitated, just half a second, then said, "It's about the spirit of the policy. We can expect a professional appearance." I nodded, thanked him for his time, and walked out with my face composed and my blood boiling. Here's what Greg didn't understand. My hair wasn't a costume. It wasn't some quirky phase. I dyed it after the grayest year of my life. A relationship that ended badly. A family loss I still don't like discussing. Months where I felt invisible. The pink was the first thing I did purely for myself. Every morning, seeing those soft pink ends reminded me I was allowed to exist as something more than a productivity unit in business casual. Now, Greg wanted me to erase that, not because it affected my work, not because clients complained, because he didn't like it. That night, I sat in my apartment staring at the wall. I thought about just dying it back, avoiding conflict, staying employed, but something wouldn't let go. Why should I make myself smaller because a man in a blue suit felt uncomfortable looking at a color? I didn't have a plan yet, but I had a question that wouldn't leave me alone. Was there another way to respond? The next morning, I did something I'd never done before. I read the entire employee handbook cover to cover to cover, all 47 pages, thrilling stuff. But I needed to understand what the rules actually said, not what Greg claimed. It took 90 minutes, and by the time I finished, something shifted inside me. The dress code section was 2 pages. It covered appropriate attire, footwear guidelines, jewelry recommendations, and hair, 1 sentence. Employees are expected to maintain neat professional grooming. Hair colors should be natural or subdued. Bright, unnatural shades are discouraged in client-facing roles. Discouraged, not prohibited, not banned. Discouraged, no enforcement mechanism, no penalty structure. And here's where my brain kicked into overdrive. There was nothing about wigs, nothing about hairpieces, nothing about whether hair had to actually grow from your scalp. I read that sentence 3 more times. No mention of wigs. The idea began forming, not fully developed. Just a flicker. But I didn't act immediately. I needed to understand the full landscape. So I spent days quietly observing. I noticed Derek from accounting wore sneakers every Friday, technically against code. Nobody said anything. I noticed Priya in marketing had nails painted in a red visible from orbit. Nobody said anything. I noticed Greg himself went without a tie sometimes, despite the handbook specifying ties recommended for client meetings. Funny how the spirit of the policy was enforced so selectively. By week's end, I'd moved from observation to research. I started looking at wigs, online new thing. This, not good wigs, not natural-looking, blend-in, fool everyone wigs. Bad wigs. Obvious wigs, wigs that screamed, I am technically complying with your ridiculous rule while making it look absurd. I found a jet black bob that looked like it belonged on a 1987 mannequin. Stiff, shiny, completely artificial. I found a mousy brown helmet of curls so rigid they didn't move when shaken. Pure low-budget period drama. I found a gray streaked grandma bun designed to sit pinned on top like a hair donut. I found a dishwater blonde shoulder-length number that looked like it had given up on existing. I found an auburn beehive towering 4 inches above the natural hairline, all natural colors, all subdued, all technically perfect, and all magnificently hideous. I ordered 7 over 2 weeks. 1 for each workday, plus backups. My best friend, watching me unpack them, asked if I'd lost my mind. I told her no. Every wig I've worn has been natural. Brown, black, gray, blonde. I've been careful to comply. He leaned forward. You're making a mockery of the policy, am I? Or am I just following it? Silence. He stared, searching for something concrete to use against me. He didn't find it. I'm escalating this to HR, he said finally. I nodded. I'll bring a printed copy of the handbook to any meetings. For reference. His jaw tightened. I walked back to my desk and kept wearing the wigs. The HR meeting was Wednesday at 2 p.m. I showed up wearing my masterpiece, the towering auburn beehive, a full 4 inches of synthetic architecture. Pure 1960s beauty pageant. The HR representative, Linda, looked at me, looked at the beehive, looked at Greg. To her credit, she stayed neutral. Greg, you requested this meeting. Why don't you explain? Greg talked about professionalism and appropriate workplace appearance. He mentioned the spirit of the dress code and client confidence, used phrases like disruptive behavior. I sat quietly, then Linda turned to me. Would you like to respond? Of course. I pulled out a printed, highlighted copy of the dress code. The hair policy states employees should maintain neat. Professional grooming and hair colors should be natural or subdued. Bright, unnatural shades are discouraged. I looked up. I've worn exclusively natural colors since Greg's concern. Brown, black, gray, blonde, auburn. Nothing bright, nothing unnatural. I set the paper down. There's nothing prohibiting wigs, nothing specifying hair must be biological, nothing about style, only color. I followed every written word. Linda took notes, studied the section. Has there been documented impact on her work performance? Greg hesitated. That's not the point. Greg's face reddened. No, but it's disruptive. How? I asked calmly. My work output hasn't changed. The only disruption is my appearance being scrutinized instead of my performance. Linda looked at Greg and said something I'll never forget. Greg, I think we need to revisit whether our dress code language supports this type of enforcement. The policy as written doesn't prohibit what she's doing. I'd suggest future conversations focus on job-related performance rather than personal styling that doesn't violate written guidelines. Greg's face went purple. The meeting ended. I walked back to my desk with my beehive held high. Over the next 2 weeks, several things happened. Greg stopped mentioning my hair. He avoided looking at me in meetings. HR circulated a draft revision of the dress code. The new version focused on neat and clean appearance and removed all language about specific hair colors. And 3 other women changed their hair. One went lavender, one went teal, one went silver. Nobody said anything to them. I kept wearing wigs for another week, just to be sure. Each day, another creation. Each day, a silent reminder that stupid rules create stupid consequences. Then, on a Friday in late October, I walked in with my real hair, pink ends and all. Nobody said a word. Jenna grinned. Welcome back, smiled. I never actually left. So what did I learn from all this? When someone in power tries to control your appearance, not because it affects work, not because it harms anyone, but because it makes them uncomfortable, they're not enforcing professionalism, they're enforcing obedience. Greg didn't care about client impressions. If he did, he would have listened when I showed clients liked my appearance. He didn't care about the dress code. If he did, he would have enforced it consistently and not selectively targeting me while ignoring Derek's sneakers and Tom's casual polos. What Greg cared about was control. He saw something outside his comfort zone and wanted it eliminated. Not because it was wrong, because it was different. And when I found a third option he hadn't anticipated, he had no idea how to respond. That's the thing about petty workplace tyrants. They rely on people not pushing back. They count on fear, losing your job, making a scene to keep everyone in line. But power has cracks. Rules have loopholes. Sometimes the best way to fight an unreasonable system is to follow it so literally, so precisely that its absurdity becomes impossible to ignore. I didn't yell. I didn't file dramatic complaints. I just wore ridiculous wigs, and that was enough to change actual policy. Real professionalism is about how you treat people, meeting commitments, communicating honestly, doing work with integrity. It is not about hair color. It's not about forcing everyone into arbitrary molds, so managers feel comfortable. If someone tries to convince you otherwise, ask them to show you the rule in writing. You might be surprised how often their power is just bluster. So here's what happened. My manager decided he didn't like my pink hair and demanded I change it. I read the policy, found a loophole, and showed up daily in hideous but compliant wigs. He escalated to HR, and HR told him the policy didn't support his enforcement. The dress code got rewritten. Other women started expressing themselves, and I kept my pink hair. Plus, I now own 7 magnificently ridiculous wigs. Nice bonus. And now I want to hear from you. Have you dealt with a petty dress code? A manager who policed how you looked? A rule that existed purely for someone else's comfort? Drop your story in the comments. I know you've got one. And if this resonated, hit subscribe. More stories coming about workplace power games and quiet rebellions. Thanks for listening. Take care of yourselves. Stand up for the small things that matter. And maybe buy a ridiculous wig, just in case.